Hello guys, and welcome to a new Warno video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you game 1 of 2 games versus AWoodenBox in the WARNO League. I'm going to be playing with Berliner Gruppierung, and AWoodenBox is going to be using the 1st UK Armoured Division, and we're going to be playing on the Two Lakes dual map. So this is the 3rd game for me in the WARNO League, and I obviously have a new opponent, AWoodenBox. He is someone who I have played against in the past quite a lot actually in team games, not in 1v1 though, and 1v1 is a very different beast. But my last 2 games in the WARNO League didn't go too well. The first game was just a failure of the basics, really rusty in 1v1. Second game, actually really pumped. Competitive wise, that was really fun to play, and I felt like I did a lot better. Obviously, lack of practice really didn't help me out there. This time around, we're coming around into AWoodenBox, and AWoodenBox is someone, like I say, I'm a familiar playing against. He's a much more conventional player than Medi, who was my previous opponent, and therefore I'm feeling quite a bit more confident up against AWoodenBox in this matchup. I've decided to go with Berliner Gruppierung because it grinds really well into these towns, and Two Lakes is pretty much a grind between either one of these towns or both. So that's kind of what I was counting on going into this. Either way, let's have a quick look at what's going down. We have plenty of the Fallschirm SPG9s that are going to be forward deployed. We've got some Fallschirmjäger Metis and Fallschirmjäger. We've got the Fallschirmjäger on the right side here with the Fago. On the right hand side, it's going to be the Fallschirmjäger Metis to cover off my right flank. And then I've got a bunch of these Grenzers, which are recon units with flamethrowers. They're going to be following up my mainline forces into the towns to contest them early on. I do have a few Strela 2Ms hanging about, just in case there's any Gazelle rocket boys at the start of the game. Also kind of helpful for potentially hitting enemy aircraft and stopping them from coming back so soon. Also got myself a couple of commands. I've got a jeep for each of the back commands, basically one command for each side of the map. You can also see that I brought in some Wachschützen. These Wachschützen, they are going to be sitting in the town at close range here just to make sure that I can win those close range engagements. So we deploy, and not too many engagements right off the bat, just a swift SPG9 kill onto the Fox there, which is very good for me, I suppose. We have the Terriers unfortunately catching out my Fallschirmjäger as they go a little bit deep here. The Terriers, they do get forward deployment, the Terrier Para, so he is able to get them into really good positions here. Lovely bombing strike from the Jaguar. Comes in, takes out both of my Grenzers immediately. So cheeky little bombing strike, but I've got a good position in the right hand side. Maybe a little bit over invested here, but that is going to be captured quickly with my truck now that I've captured the back sectors. So we're going to be even. He's going to have pretty much full control over his sector. I'm going to have pretty much full control over my sector, and that's pretty much how I expected it to start. I would have liked to have had a bit of a firefight going here at the start. I know that my Grenzers could have probably beaten his Terrier Para at close range, and then I could have backed up a push to keep the pressure onto Zulu from the start of the game, but that bomber really just cut my tempo completely, and so I'm going to invest instead into a book on my first tick, which I'm going to place next to this leader, so it gets extra veterancy, and I can really try and shut down some of the airplay that he will be using throughout this game. Because he has already invested into that Jaguar, he probably has another Jaguar bomber available. He's got all the tornadoes, which can be kind of difficult to deal with, so getting a book in early, I feel, was a good shout. After that, going to be bringing in some Vopos in the SBW PSHs. Those are going to be able to potentially help me push deeper into the town, but since I lost position with the recon, it's going to be difficult to get in there. But the nice thing about Vulpos is they are kind of expendable, and therefore I'm going to be able to just like spread them out, try and push them forwards a little bit, find where his troops are in the process. I'm also seeing his Terrier Para move over to the left, so I'm going to have to put something in this forest on the left side here at some point in order to stop him from just running down the side and cutting off my reinforcements. That'd be really annoying if that happened. Meanwhile, bringing in some more recon. Like my recon on the right hand side, you can see is spreading out into better positions. Like I'm kind of developing the right hand side further out. And then I'm also going to be filling the gap here, just making sure that he's not sneaking any units in between for the time being. But here comes a seed aircraft, the Tornado GR1. It's actually going to miss my book. My book lands a hit, and then the Strela 2M gets the hit after the fact, which is nuts, because that thing has 40% ECM. So really, really lucky shots for me, taking down the Tornado with the seed early on, because it pretty much frees up my book for the rest of the game, which is really, really nice. You know, SBD9's causing issues, trying to do damage to some of these units. I was trying to jump that one out of the building, but I got absolutely demolished. SPG-9s ideally should be focusing on the Warrior Milans rather than the Centurion Mark 5s, because the Centurion Mark 5s do have 12 front armor, and therefore it would be much more efficient for me to just try and take out the Warriors, which only have 3 front armor, and the SPG-9s will hit them a lot harder. So SBWPSH here going to be able to hit the Terriopala at range. Vulpus just getting into cover here. Unfortunately going to be spotted by those Warrior Milans, but thankfully he's backing up. But I'm kind of losing a little bit of position. He's managed to get his armoured rifles out of those Milans and push them all the way forwards, and I don't really have anything in his way right now to stop him. I'm trying to move up a couple of Vulpus on the left-hand side. My thought process here was that if I can get through the Terriopala on the left, then I can kind of get into the side of the town and force him to try and contest me back here rather than in the open. But I got a Conquers into position. That's going to take out at least one of the warriors. SBWPSHs are currently trying to mow down the armoured rifles as they move across. Vulpus have unfortunately died. But the SBWPSH is still causing a decent damage. Strela, that should have been running. 100 mil, need to get that unloaded so I can cover off the main road. On the right hand side here, PSH goes down there. A lot of my stuff is being really pushed very, very hard right now, and on the left hand side, huge mistake by me actually, lost 2 of the Vulpus in the SBW PSH before they even unloaded. Now it's not a huge deal because like Vulpus are cheap and so are their transports, so it's not like a huge investment loss, but not getting any effectiveness out of them is kind of sad. Anyway, T64BV is going to join me on the field. NTLB was trying to finish off the armoured rifles but failed. T80B also going to be arriving just to back things up. My T64BV is going to be the best tank that I have access to. 17 penetration, 17 front armour. Really useful for pretty much cleaning up everything. Has extra HP for dealing with his tanks. It has a machine gun that can deal with infantry quite well. And then I've also got the T80B that's going to be using its NSVT as well to help with the infantry problem. Meanwhile, I'm also going to be bringing up some more Fallschirmjäger Metis and Motorstragi Metis. These are going to be super important for dealing with the warriors. I believe the Metis can one-shot warriors, so I'm hoping to utilize them to shut down some of the fire support that would otherwise be dealing damage to me. Meanwhile, on the right, you can see the Grenza's got into a relatively nice position here. I've brought a Conkers further up, and I've got the Grenza Fallschirmjäger combo there. So that I've got close range infantry in the flamethrower, and then the Fallschirmjäger have an RPG if tanks come in or any armoured vehicles, that kind of thing. Anyway, infantry is going to be trying to push back in here because I can't lose this sector. This is a +2. Currently, Wooden did get the jump on me with the team score. As you can see, he's currently at 17 and I'm at 0, so I'm kind of the one who's forced to break the stalemate for the rest of the game, which is a little bit frustrating, but something that I'm not too worried about because we're going to be grinding into Zulu at some point anyway. You might also notice I have got a sneaky command here. The primary reason I did this was quite simply to break back the points in my favour, so that he was going to have to be the one to break the stalemate and not myself. So I'm really hoping that I can get round, just sneak into his back sector for a little bit. It would obviously get killed, but the idea being that I would get ahead on score. Regardless, Vulpus is trying to go up against the Terriopala for now. I am bringing in some Wachschützen and the Fallschirmjäger on the left just to make sure that I can push through that. And I've also got a couple more recon units on the way. These are going to be super important for flushing out some of the infantry that's going to be hiding in these buildings. Meanwhile, things, pretty chill. I think WARNO definitely took his foot off the pedal, maybe a bit prematurely, because I was under a lot of pressure. But my tank, of course, in the open here, really kind of awkward for him to deal with without any heavy tanks currently at the front line. And I've also, of course, got this 100mm, which is going to absolutely blast the Warrior Milan there. This thing hiding in cover, waiting to pick off some nice targets. I've also got a BMP-1 coming in, recon, going to be really, really useful. Fallschirmjäger Metis, going to be finding themselves engaging some SAS patrol and Terrier Pala there, so they're going to have to fall back. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side here, what ended up happening to my leader was WARNO saw it coming with like a recon down here or something, and he left a warrior, which popped it on the right-hand side. Really, really sad for my leader unit there. Wachschützen looking for the infantry engagement at close range. These are really, really scary close-range infantry. They have the RPO launcher, which is the napalm launcher, plus really decent weapons. They are resolute as well, but they do not deal well with Milans. And you can see the Warrior Milans coming through here. They're definitely going to be able to hit those Wachschützen hard. I'm not able to get them out of there in time. But the 100mm at least takes out one of the Warrior Milans, and now my Fallschirmjägers are going to move forwards with the second Wachschützen, so I can maybe take out some of the other Warrior Milans. Because these Fallschirmjäger, they have 18 penetration RPGs. That's one Warrior Milan down, second Milan down, or second Warrior Milan down. Also going to be able to Metis one of the Warrior Milans over here. This T-80B routed, unfortunately. But the Metis trying to do its best to clean up all these warriors, and so far so good. I mean, these warriors, taking out these warriors, it removes a lot of his fire support, so I'm really happy getting those kills. 45 points apiece. We just popped quite a few of them. I've also managed to get a Euro up here. So I've got both of these low health Fallschirmjäger Metis. I'm going to be getting them back up to full strength using my supply. T-64 BV in the meantime, going to be having to go at the warriors with the AT gun. This AT gun was so clutch here. Caused a lot of problems for WARNO. Taking out both of those Warrior Milans with the help of the T-64 BV. Wachschützen unfortunately still going to be killed off on that right hand side. You'll notice that I have brought up an MI-24 VP. Now this bad boy is pretty good at dealing with units at closer ranges because of its 23mm cannon, but unfortunately he's got a javelin in there, a javelin LML. I'm going to have to pull that back, but I'm not going to pull it back too much. I'm basically trying to get it into exact rocket range so it can engage the SAS patrol and the Terrier's parry here. Super important that we're able to get those kills. My Wachschützen's going to move forwards at the same time and help finish things off. Armoured rifles on the left hand side got left out in the open due to the warriors dying, so no, overall went pretty well. And the javelin LML going to miss another shot. I'm going to just move back the MI-24 for the time being. Meanwhile, on the right hand side, things still pretty chill, nothing too much going on over here, just trying to recuperate the losses that I had at the start on the left hand side, and so far so good. I mean, we have traded back pretty well into the Milans. We just cleaned out the SAS patrol there, and we're starting to get the better of his infantry here. He is going to move in a command on the left hand side. It's going to break my control of this sector. I do have my own leader here that can move back in, but I'm going to be a little bit careful. The main thing though is just getting the Metis on target of the chieftain here. Also moving that forwards forces his Rover Milan out, and you can see I'm going to just move my leader back in. A little bit of a mistake on my part not moving it in just a little bit sooner. But the leadership near the book certainly helping hit the Jaguar GR1 here. Albeit, second rocket there from this book, going to finish it off. Very, very nice. So that's the second, well actually it's probably the same Jaguar as before, finally shot down. And I've managed to push him out of the sector, get that back under my control, with some good trades. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. Like initially it was like pretty sketchy because he got a really, really good start on the left hand side against me, particularly breaking down the Grenzes and killing off a lot of my Vulpus. But at this point I'm not feeling too bad. I'm able to save these Fallschirmjäger Metis again as well, so they're going to be able to come back, get back to full strength. Aufkladder and the KPV on the right hand side going to be able to engage the armoured rifles and take care of those. I've got Wachschützen and Vorpost coming in to reinforce this. T-64 BV, second one, coming in to help on the left hand side. going to try and get this Vulcan back, especially with that armoured rifle out of the way. Should be fine. So, yeah, things stabilised, I would say. Probably equal kills and losses at this point, especially with me shooting down the Seed aircraft, taking out the Jaguar. I've got 2 T-64 BVs set up. I've got the T-80B set up. We've got plenty of Metis squads. I've managed to keep the Fallschirmjäger alive whilst killing his infantry, so that worked out really nicely. I'm feeling pretty confident on this left-hand side. Monostrike Metis coming in again to reinforce. Metis squads are really, really nice, especially when you want to kind of push over these sorts of ranges, because they allow you to engage units that would be shooting at you. For example, this Chieftain or Centurion Mark V AVRE. And it's going to force him to constantly use smoke, which I can then exploit when I engage with my T-64 BV, because they won't be able to fall back behind any smoke. SAS Patrol are going to get spotted there, which is fine by me. Just want to try and take them out. Meanwhile, Centurion AVREs, one of them going to take a side shot there, actually pretty nice. Going to be looking for another hit. Chieftain Mark 10, scary boy, does have a 20 penetration gun. Got to be careful with my 17 front armor. We do have 17 penetration versus his 15 front armor, but yeah, Chieftain Mark 11s, pretty cost efficient at 170 points versus my 245 point T-64 BVs. Anyway, Vulcan managing to make some decent ground. We are coming under mortar fire now, which is going to be a bit of a pain throughout the game. But you can see we are getting the better of some of this infantry again. Fox, obviously a bit of an issue, but again, the Metis force back those vehicles. They can't just sit there and engage you when you have Metis squads. Like Milans, Foxes, all that stuff just gets popped. Yeah, we're going to take a bit of damage from the APCs, but overall, you know, you can take those engagements pretty nicely. Now, in this case, I didn't mean to pop the smoke here. I just double-clicked the T-64 BV by accident, and it selected both when I did that. Also going to take out the track Rapier there, though, which is really, really nice. Did lose the Vulcan to the mortar fire, and the Monostragi here not having fun against the rifles, but overall, you know, not too bad trades. T-64 BV going to be trying to push up here, hitting the 15 front armor of the Chieftain Mark 9. We don't have a seriously overwhelming advantage when it comes to the armor department here. T-64 BVs are really nice, and they have a really solid AWoodenBox, but their main gun versus the armor of a Chieftain is not that great, so just got to bear that in mind moving forwards, and that means that my T-64 BVs can't be as useful as I would otherwise have liked. But the Monster Vertigo, they're going to be able to get back here. Vulcan, sorry, on this left-hand side, still pretty low. I'm going to have to bring in some supply for them at some point. I was planning to move this Yordle over to the left, but with the Fallschirmjäger Metis in this back building, I decided to leave the Yordle here so they could get fixed up. You can see this Monostragi Metis also coming back for the reinforcement there. But this Monostragi Metis left alive for the time being as the UAZ comes over and saves the day. So the nice thing about my engagements here, all of my infantry engagements, is that I'm able to mostly save my infantry and get them fixed up again, and that's always really nice because it just means that you get decent value out of your infantry and in these ongoing engagements. On the right hand side here, a couple of SPG 9s coming in. You can see I've also brought up a couple of SPG 9s here. I managed to get some Vorpals further up on the right hand side. My entire plan really was to build up a small little push here that I could start putting pressure onto X-Ray. And by doing so, I can draw a lot of his troops over to the right-hand side and then potentially make a play into this town using my Buratinos. That's what was going through my head anyway. So bring forward the Strela 10M, take down the Gazelle, try and get rid of some of his eyes in this position so that I can then back myself up with everything I need to make a push. So I'm going to be moving my books over to the right hand side so that I can cover myself off against his potential airstrikes, because if I make a play on the right hand side here, the biggest threat really is just going to be like bombing strikes, like tornadoes, stuff like that, coming in and ruining my day. So the books are going to be moving over to cover that push. Meanwhile on the left though, I did lose a T-64 BV, which was really bad, so that was unfortunate. Terrier Pala though, going to be bumping into my Superiapio, going to be trying to run them down, get the shock trait activated so that we can get the extra DPS on target. Meanwhile, a little bit of a push coming through the open here I'm going to have to be worried about for sure. Those Warrior Milans do provide very decent fire support between their Raden and the L94A1. But the Conkers here are going to pick off at least one of the Warrior Milans. The Grenzers, they're going to be able to fall back without dying as well, which is nice. Those Fallschirmjäger are also going to have to move though. So I have brought in the T813 munition truck back here, which was fixing up my Mi-24 VP. Now moving back to Motorrad Vertigo and Wachschützen so I can get more value out of those. This Conker's going to be stopping this armor from moving forwards. But what it does do is it means that WARNO moves forwards his infantry unsupported. So I'm going to try and jump back in here. If I jump the Fallschirmjäger back in first, then I can move the Grenzers in. He can't kill the Grenzers until he's killed the Fallschirmjäger. So little bit of a cheeky move, but basically going to be taking out that armored rifle for free using the flamethrower there, or at least, you know, trying to, as the flamethrower is completely whiffing. Anyway, Conker's firing away towards the Warrior Milan there. Unfortunately going to miss, but either way forces him off. Now he's going to be buying some serious artillery, starts hitting my Conkers. Really difficult to dodge this artillery because it basically can hit directly, especially with the scouts here. He's got corrected shot, so he's going to be pretty much one-shotting my Conkers. Ideally I should have moved this one after it fired, but I wasn't even thinking about his artillery at this point, to be honest, as I was focusing on the left hand side and developing a push on the right hand side. You can see I've unloaded the Volpos. They're going to be starting to push across the open. I have taken my sweet time to set this up, so he is obviously going to be a bit ready for it, but bringing over the Mi-24 VP, got a T64 BVK to push into the sector, got my books into position, and got some SPG-9s that can help with any lighter targets. So hoping to just, this is not necessarily an attack that I want to succeed. If it does succeed, that's great, but if it doesn't, the idea is this Buratino that I've just brought in will be smashing into Zulu, and I'll be pushing up on the left hand side here instead. That's why I've still got two T80Bs on here and the BV still in cover. But I am going to be bringing up the Su-17 to come in with the rocket strike. That's going to smash the Warrior Milan there. It's also going to spot all of these Gazelles. So it looks like WARNO, he decided to invest into all of these Gazelles in order to shut down my push across the open here. And this was the point that I realized he's already got two Chieftain Mark 11s in position. So it's going to be very difficult for my T64 BV to get into position on the right hand side, but I'm still going to try and make the play here because I am making ground on the left hand side using the Sapati RPO. And you can see my infantry is all pushing up on the left hand side at the same time. Anyway, Su-17 going to be shooting down a couple of the Gazelle AH-1s. This Strela 10M has absolute field day shooting these down as well. Tornado F3 doesn't get shot down by the books, almost. But you can see the line of Gazelles there just getting obliterated. And the scouts get taken out as well, thanks to the Mi-24 VP. So this has worked out really well. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that push went initially. Now my T80B trying to have a go at the Chieftain Mark 9, benefiting quite heavily from having an autoloader there, so that my so that the cohesion didn't affect my rate of fire on the tank. So I'm able to take out the Chieftain Mark 9. I'm also able to use the Su-17 to take down another Gazelle on the right hand side. So yeah, the trade's actually going pretty well for me so far. Unfortunately, Su-17 does get caught out by a Track Raper, I believe. But the Conkers here trying to have a go at the Centurions and kill them off. I'm doing a lot of damage to them right now, managing to make a decent amount of ground. Unfortunately, my infantry on the left did get killed off, but we're still getting some good hits in here. HGEMs coming in from all sorts of sides. Buratino is going to smash this location. His tanks stop driving forwards at just the right moment. And my Buratino's first rocket actually hits my own troops, so that wasn't ideal. But they were both left on 1 health anyway, so I wasn't too annoyed that they died because they were already going to die anyway. But yeah, that Buratino really kind of whiffing when it would have otherwise really done quite a lot of damage to his tanks. Anyway, Fallschirmjäger Metis managing to find another Chieftain Mark 9 kill. On the left-hand side, T64 BVs moving forwards. I've got the Motorrad Vertigo and Wachschützen from earlier, able to help me out. I'm also going to be picking off the Javelin LML at close range. I've got the T80 BV taking out a Chieftain Mark 11. So you can see there's a lot of kills coming through right now. My 100mm AT gun is going to be going down. I'm just trying to hope that my Metis can get a 80 gem on target, because they were just missing every single one. Meanwhile, on the right hand side, you can see my push here did definitely get broken down. Meanwhile, I was bringing in MiG-21s also to help on that side. So things absolutely chaotic in this 1v1. This is the thing about 1v1, is like, it's actually hard for me to commentate my own game even though I played it, because I'm looking at everywhere on the map all at once, like all the time, just skipping backwards and forwards across the front line when I'm playing 1v1. But like, obviously I'm trying to explain things in Spectate, and like, because things are happening so quickly, it's kind of hard to keep up. Anyway, after all is said and done, on this left-hand side, the mortar fire really helped deal with my Monstraki Metis. His artillery's been killing off a lot of my support weapons, so things end up relatively even on this left-hand side after all things are said and done. And with my Buratino absolutely whiffing its first strike, that really didn't help me out at all. Also, these Monstraki Metis really just performing very badly for me in this game. Like, these things have 55% accuracy, and I just felt like they were never ever hitting anything. Anyway, T-64BB. I'm going to be engaged in Terrier's Parrot here, which is fine. I'm going to be bringing up a couple more Vertigo just to provide me with more recon here, because I noticed that, you know, the front line is pretty much blind right now. I'm going to have to get my troops back up to scratch as well, get some reinforcements for these Monstraki Metis. With SU-17 coming in there with a nice rocket strike onto the rifles, with the tornado coming in, I kind of have to head on that. There's no other choice, especially considering all of the AA that fired at me. I was just hoping that I could maybe get some, get a shot like on target, like a infrared missile, and then also the gun, but not to be. Also, my books are still over on this right hand side. I am now moving them back because you can see I've retreated the T-64 BBK. No way I'm going to be able to get it to that sector. But I'm just hoping that I pulled over quite a lot of resources to that right-hand side, so the next time I push into this left-hand side again, we're going to be able to actually break him this time. We've definitely got a little bit further up. You can see the Monstraki in this position. On the left-hand side, you know, the Bakshits are now freely engaging the armored rifles and stuff. Things aren't looking too bad. I'm also going to be resupplying the Buratino. So, you know, I'm not unhappy with how it's gone. Mi-24 VP just kind of idle back here is not ideal. Should have really like moved that over to the T-813 just to get it fixed up. But otherwise, yeah, things are okay. A second Buratino going to be on the way, and this time around I'm thinking, you know what, we'll just double Buratino the town or any defensive position that we see, and then we can you know, break into there and finish things off. But meanwhile, the Grunzers and the Fallschirmjäger I had here did get killed off. You can see that building up in smoke. And my sort of awareness of this right-hand side has been severely deteriorated by the fact that my Grunzers have all died. I've got this one Grunzer here. We've got some other units on the edge of the town, but you know, the ones that I had further out that were kind of helping secure this position have been overtaken now by WARNO forces, which is something that I didn't really appreciate up at this point. Anyway, things a little bit quiet for a little while. Vertigo trying its best to get its RPG 22 on target, 65% accuracy by the way, misses all 3 hits. These have 15 pen, can take out a warrior in a couple hits, but yeah, no favours done for me there as the Vertigo completely fails. Obviously the low cohesion is reducing its accuracy quite a lot when it comes under fire from the warrior, of course, so I'm just going to try and use the T-64 BV to do the job instead. Again, Metis missing the Chieftain Mark 9 completely. On the right hand side, Fallschirmjäger, obviously spotted by enemy recon, are currently being beaten up. And this was something that I just didn't notice throughout the game. When I was like so focused, I didn't really appreciate the artillery coming in. It was picking off quite a lot of stuff throughout this game. Anyway, BMP-1 going to be having a go at the Warrior Milan, really hoping that I can get my HGM on target. Finally get a Metis shot on target, but not in time to save the BMP 1P. But you can see things are going pretty well. Vertigo, Monostrelki actually making some ground here. On the right hand side though, WARNO starting to push in with the Terrier's Patter. And it was at this point I probably should have got my Wachschützen into a better position here, pulled back these units on the edge of the town that don't need to be there. Obviously the HGM kind of wants to be there, but the Charlotte 2M really doesn't need to be there. Okay, Motorosvitka caught out in the open here. Warrior Milan's going to take them out nice and easy. SPG-9's trying to move up in support of this. Monostrelki looking again for a hit onto the tanks. Manages to hit the Chieftain Mark 11 at least. But yeah, here we can see the Terrier's Paras getting in. If my Wachschützen had been moved up at this point, I could have killed the Terrier's Paras before they were in a good position, which would have been really, really nice. Much like these armoured rifles getting caught out in the open by the Grenzers. So, a little bit of a mistake on my part. Meanwhile, on the left, getting a bit distracted. Strela 10M going down for free. I'm not too concerned about losing a Strela 10M just because the Strela 10M is really used for dealing with helicopters, and we've already shot down the majority of his helicopters in the Gazelle rockets that he would use. The only other thing that he might have is like the Lynx Helarm, but otherwise we're not too concerned. Anyway, Motorosvitka, Wachschützen moving forwards now on the left hand side. I've got the T-64 BVK here ready to push into the sector to try and capture that. You can see I've moved back the books over to the left hand side. I felt I was doing pretty well, like with this whole like sort of maneuver warfare thing going on. I've also managed to get the Fallschirmjäger to kill the Spartan on the right hand side, so he's not going to be able to flank me. Meanwhile, into the town goes the Borodino, and we're going to be making a little bit of a play here to try and get the C-64 BVK into the town, which is of course a bit risky, but I'm kind of looking at the town right now and not really seeing too much resistance, so I'm quite happy to push in here with the T-80B, with the T-64 BVK. Got plenty of recon that's going to be able to keep an eye on things. Chieftain Mark 11 is getting shots onto my T-64 BVK, which is a little bit unfortunate for me, but at least I'm able to kill the Chieftain Mark 11 there. But now we've got tornadoes coming in, and they're going to be catching out all of my Su-22s. I am able to trade one of the tornadoes, everything going on all at once again, but the idea of having those Su-22 clusters on the field preemptively was that I was going to be able to cluster any tanks that would prevent my T-64s from getting into the town. A lovely bombing strike there from the MiG-21 BIS does take out a track Rapier. I saw it briefly and fire positioned it with the MiG-21s. This MiG-21 coming in to help out with some of the armour. This T-64BV on the left side though, really not doing great against the Chieftain Mark 9. It doesn't want to trade. Ideally it wants to just win that engagement. Su-22 though did manage to get the kill onto the Chieftain Mark 11, but I'm not able to stop the Jaguar from shooting down my Mi-24V, which got hit by an infrared missile from the Tornado earlier. The thing's going absolutely crazy. Now this Buratino was planning to fire at where the leader was, and I cancel it just in time before it wastes all of its rockets. But you can see my Aufklärer have managed to get in here. I've managed to get a Wachschützen into the town as well. So things still going well in my eyes. You know, I'm still managing to get in here, and we're going to try and decap this. But then I look to the right, and what happened to all of my troops? Well, it turns out WARNO made a big push in here that I just wasn't aware of because, as I mentioned earlier, all my Grenzers got broken down. So things going pretty crazy, but Buratino here that saved his rockets now going to be firing into his reinforcements in the town. I'm going to be able to break down a lot of his forces on the left hand side. T-64BV helping support this as well. Things going pretty well. Books are going to survive an artillery strike. And yeah, I'm just happy that I've got in here. Mortar fire is obviously annoying, but we've got infantry that's going to be able to force out his Rover CP, so that's good. I've got an Mi-24 VP that's going to be able to stop him from pushing out of this right-hand sector. And I've got a Fallschirmjäger here as well, so that's kind of what I'm counting on right now. Wachschützen were trying to sneak around the backside of the sector so I could see his leader, but that didn't really work out for me. Regardless, managed to pick off the Rover CP here with the Aufklärer. There you see. and T-64BVK going to be able to engage the Warrior Milans. Now the Jaguar coming in there with the bombing strike is going to finish off the T-64BVK, but I managed to full cap this and kill his rover, so the T-64BVK is not necessarily important right now in order to hold on to that left side sector. But on the backside here, Su-22 M4K is being caught out by the Tornado. I brought that in to deal with some of the armor that would be pushing up on the right hand side. You can see that my Mi-24 actually ended up getting shot down by some of the AA that he brought with him on the right hand side. Fallschirmjäger's got killed off as well, but the Su-22 managing to head on and kill the Tornado is pretty nice. Regardless, things not looking too good at the moment, as we basically just traded sectors in the middle, but he's managed to get a Rover CP into my sector on the backside, so really rudely decaps Papa, and that's going to give him the +2. Things still pretty close overall. I'm going to be trying to make a little bit of play down the left hand side. My T-64 is going for hit for Alpha. Su-22 unfortunately gets picked off by the Track Rapier. T-64BV going to have a hard time dealing with the Chieftain Mark 11s. Honestly, what I should do in this scenario is probably just turn off the main gun and try and use the Agona to get the damage into the Mark 11s, because just fighting them at this distance, you can see, just doesn't really do much. The T-64 is just in a really bad spot. Also, I believe this had potentially used its smoke earlier, so I wasn't able to save that. Anyway, armoured rifles getting picked off here by the SPG-9s. I'm currently moving up a Fargo and my leader on this left-hand side, just to try and back things up. If I can get my leader into Alpha and then stop him from capping Papa, then I'm actually fine. Like, the Rover CP's gone down. The Chieftain Mark 11 is kind of low on health. So if I can get those Alpha Cutter into the sector there, I can probably hold him out of this sector, get my leader into Alpha, and there's potential that I can win the game, right? So in my eyes, I'm thinking, you know what, this is looking pretty good. Like, there's a good chance here. Of course, this Gazelle's a bit of a problem, and I am being shot at from the right-hand side. So unfortunately, this leader's kind of not able to push up, especially with the armoured rifle here. So the T-64 BV is going to have to first get rid of the armoured rifle. I am now being shot at by a tank from there. HM's still a bit of a problem. But what I decided to do, Su-22 is going to come up here. I was hoping to spot the enemy unit, the Chieftain Mark 11, but the Tornado comes in and intercepts. On the right hand side, Su-22 does manage to get the kill onto the enemy leader on the backside of the sector, so that's fine, and the Alpha Cutter can finish off the Chieftain in there. So I'm going to be able to get my leader in to recap my backside. On the left over here, unfortunately the leader that I had got picked off, so now I'm in a position where, yes, I'm going to cap back my sector on the right hand side, but I'm now 300 and, well, almost 400 points behind. And it was at this moment that I was kind of a bit like, oh, maybe I can't win this one. It's kind of sad. 3 minutes 30 seconds left on the clock. His tanks are going to be running away from it. Alpha Cutter here. I'm going to bring up a Strela 10M. That's just going to be trying to engage the Tornado for me, because it's trying to shoot down my MiG on this backside. Do manage to kill it off, in part due to the BMP-1K giving me leadership. But yeah, with only 3 minutes left on the clock, I've got to make up 400 points. I can't get into Oscar. He's obviously got plenty of troops here. So the only place that I can really put a leader in, potentially, is on the left-hand side. But the only leaders that I had left was this Jeep. That's like the fastest unit I've got, and then like the BMP-1Ks, but they're obviously slow. So it's going to take that a good minute to get up on the left hand side anyway. And now look, there's a Challenger Mark II sitting in my way. So I've got to somehow kill that. But my Su-22 is on cooldown. The Su-20, like the Su-22 cluster is, and my Su-22 AT. So the only real hope for me to kill that Challenger 2 is if the T-64 somehow magically gets the better of it. Meanwhile, he's pushing in with the mortars. I think he was just trying to like waste ammo here so that he could push a leader into that. But yeah, BMP-1K might as well go for the push onto Oscar. It is going to be in range of all these tanks and stuff, but that was just, you know, dreaming that maybe it would be enough. And yeah, what was a wild game Absolute wild game. Unfortunately, it's going to fall in favour of WARNO. If I'd traded just a little bit better, maybe didn't like waste my SU-22s on the backside before they even engaged, things may have gone a bit better, but alas. Well played, WARNO. He is going to be claiming this one. I am going to push it all the way, of course. I mean, there's only 1 minute left on the clock, so I was like, you know, we might as well just play it out. Watch my T-64 just lose to the Challenger 2. Sad times. In some ways, you know, I do enjoy watching a British unit absolutely annihilate a Soviet one, even if I am under control of it. But yeah, this BMP-1K, no way that's getting to Alpha anytime soon. All I really need to do is just stop him from getting a leader in here and just take the L. At this point, my Jeep here, you can see the fast move order. I'm placing it all the way down this road, hoping maybe to get into X-ray. Imagine that, that would have been insane. But the Warrior Milan there, gonna be taking shots at it. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I've just about managed to get past that. It is faster than any unit he has. Oh, JK, there's a tank on the backside. T-64. Gonna be missing one of its 80 gems as usual. Tornado coming in with a bombing strike for that T-64. Well, that's a cool scene as the T-64 is like nooping out of there. And that's going to be game. GG WARNO. I thought I could have him. Almost. I like, in hindsight, if you go back and watch the replay, he certainly had a lot more on the field than me at the end. But the kills and losses after a 40-minute game, pretty close. 7,925 kills, 8,480 losses. God, there was some chance there. There really was, and honestly, I wasn't very displeased with this performance. I thought I did really well, considering. Shame that my Buratinos didn't really do very well throughout the game. You see, this one only got 2 rifle kills. There was a moment where like one of these Buratinos was set up to really hit his armor hard, but then obviously his armor moved, and then I didn't manage to clip them, so that was unfortunate. But yeah, there were some real moments of hope in that game, dashed at the end as my leaders falter and his do not. Great game. Unfortunately puts me 0-3 in the WARNO League, but you know, it is what it is. I'm here for entertainment, and I think this was a hell of an entertaining game. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.